Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Happy Thursday. I hope you are well wherever you are watching with us from today. If you're a regular to YWTV, you know that Thursdays is the day that we share the mic now with Black women in our community to share their stories and amplify their voices. And it's always my great honor to have these conversations. And today, I tapped on this great lady's shoulder and said, "Could you come talk with us?" Because I had the wonderful pleasure of connecting with her through an effort probably more than a year plus ago now, that was involved entrepreneurs and their businesses, and pushing them out to win competitions, win a competition, a pitch competition. And Avis was a shining star in that effort. I happened to be a judge, and I was assigned to Avis at the time, and she stuck in my head all of this time. And I said to her, "I'm going to be back soon," and at some point. And so here I was knocking on her door this week and asking her to get back involved with the YW now. So I'm so excited to share her story with you, because I really think it's unique. She's been a trailblazer in the work that she has done and is doing, and it's a wonderful opportunity to to lift her up, to lift up her business, lift up her community minded and civic commitments that she has made around her because of her beliefs, and for you to learn more about her too. So with that, I want to tell you a little bit about Avis Yates Rivers. She is the CEO of Technology Concepts Group International, TCGi, a multi-million-dollar company that she built from the ground up. TCGi is an asset management and procurement solution provider, as well as a value-added reseller. In 2017, it was deemed the third fastest growing women-owned business, and in 2020, TCGi was named Supplier of the Year, Class 3, by Eastern Minority Supplier Development Council. During the early part of her career, Avis enjoyed an 11-year tenure at Exxon. When Exxon sold its office systems division in 1985, it left a temporary void in the marketplace, which she saw as an opportunity to establish her first technology company and continue to service Exxon's customers. She is a longtime advocate for increased utilization of minority and women-owned businesses, and a change agent for increasing the meaningful participation of women and people of color in technology. In 2017, she released her book, Necessary Inclusion: Embracing the Changes that Face, Embracing the Changing Faces of Technology. She also serves as the director on the board of a select group of nonprofits and is the national spokesperson for the NCWIT's Sit With Me campaign. She also serves on the board of the National Center for Women and Information Technology and the Women's Business Enterprise Council. I'm sure you all can tell why I wanted to talk to Avis today. Welcome, Avis. So happy to have you.
Thank you, Helen. I just sit here and giggling in my head as people stumble through all of that information and all of those acronyms, right? So thank you for taking a good try at it. It was really great, and I appreciate the introduction. And I appreciate you having me today.
Oh, please! It's my great honor. I always say to the guests on my show, I know sometimes we think, oh, there's so much to get through, but you have done it all, and you this is amazing, and it's wonderful for you to hear it. It's wonderful for us to hear it, and your bio, though, it talks about from a very young age, right, that you were able to envision possibilities and recognize opportunities. I mean, clearly you did that with Exxon. A lot of people would have seen that experience as a door closing and not seeing it as a door opening, which is what clearly you did. And boy, did you open that door to a whole new world for yourself, and really be a role model for others. Can you talk a little bit about that, and what helped you have that kind of mindset to be able to just see that as opportunity as opposed to, just an ending?
Sure, Helen. I would love to. From a very early age, I was one of six children growing up to two working class parents in small New York City apartments and dwellings. And I had to learn early how to make my way, how to carve out something for myself, because there was a lot of us. It was eight people, right? And dogs living in tight quarters. And so I knew that my interests weren't in the typical kid type things, right? I wanted to read. I wanted to be left alone. There's a lot of noise out there. So whenever they would look for me, I'd be in the closet with a flashlight with my stack of books from the New York City Public Library, and enjoying myself and it really escaping. And I think that more than anything else set the tone for my adventuresome spirit, my willingness to take risks, my ability to see into the future. This is not prophetic or, palm reading kind of stuff. It just is this innate ability to see what's possible. I remember taking my husband to a new office space that I was interested in renting at the time, and it was a photographer's studio. So imagine walking into this place and it's total black. The walls, the windows, the floors, the ceiling, everything was total black. He actually got annoyed with me that I would even consider renting such a place. But I actually said these words to him. I'm like, but can't you see it? Can't you see what this can be? And he was like, no. And I'm like, never mind. Last time I take you to look at a potential office for me. But I just developed from all of that reading and escaping the ability to think and in my mind's eye see beyond what the present situation is. And so I only work for Exxon Corporation. I did 3 internships while in college in New York City and was hired upon graduation. So I never wrote a resume or interviewed for a job anywhere in life. Still haven't. And that won't ever happen again because I don't want a job anymore. But Exxon prepared me so well. Remember, they were the #1 corporation in the world for my entire time and for decades, right, on the top of the Fortune 500 list. And so they had such a large conglomerate and different activities and different business units and different departments. And I had an opportunity to see a lot of that. And when they created the Office Systems Technology Group late in that development, I was put into that division to sell early technology on Wall Street. Talk about finding one's niche. I came alive because prior to that, every position was, okay, it's been 6 months. Surely there's something else you need me to be doing because this right here, this job description, there's more to me to give than what this calls for. And with sales, I really began to establish my own business, right? I was managing my customers, I was managing my income, my budget, my calendar as I rose through the ranks of sales. And it was such an eye-opening experience. This was pre-terrorism days in New York City, and my territory was vertical. I had several buildings on Broadway, and I had the World Trade Center and the American Stock Exchange and things like that. So I can go into a building and stay there for weeks as I worked my way. When I was taught how to sell by Exxon, they said you got to knock on every door. That's what I did. I knocked on every door, never knowing what was behind door number 1, 2, or 3, right? How would I be perceived? How would I be received? Here I was, young, African-American, female, selling technology on Wall Street for an oil and gas company. What?
I mean, just one of those things at that time would have been something to really, work through, let alone all of them together.
All of that. And I brought such a zeal and a zest and an enjoyment of it because it was wonderful watching people try and figure it out, right? And I think that curiosity was one of my early success factors. They had to. They said, "Bring her in." What? I have to find out what this woman is talking about. And so, having to steel myself before walking, there was no locked doors. There was no security. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
I just would open the door and walk in, and prepare myself emotionally and physically to accept whatever was going to greet me, and to figure out how to maneuver my way into where I wanted to be, which was the decision maker's office, from that receptionist, who was greeting visitors coming in the door. And so that all of those experiences, from my early beginnings at home, to through school, through working internships at Exxon, to working full time at Exxon. And then when they decided that they were going to sell that division, well, those were the best 5 years of my life. I really, really thought I was Mary Tyler Moore, throwing my hat up in the air, twirling around on Wall Street. I was living my best life, I thought at the time. And so, what was going to happen next, I didn't know anything else. I didn't remember. I had only worked for Exxon. And I knew I loved sales, and I knew I loved technology at that point. And so I had very few options.
Mm-hmm.
Go to work for one of the competing companies, IBM, Xerox, Wang. Those were the big players in the industry at the time. And I shuddered. I just couldn't do that, right? Go back into corporate Exxon and sit at a desk all day. Couldn't do that. And so I thought the next best career move for me was to continue to support Exxon customers, because remember, they were leaving the industry. And the new company that bought it didn't know anything about our equipment and or anything. They just wanted to rip and replace with their gear. But I knew that was going to be a few years in the making, and I saw this void. And interestingly, Helen, I had been feeling for the last couple of years while I was in that sales role that I felt like I could be doing these kinds of things on my own. No, I wasn't going to manufacture equipment, but I can help users use it more effectively,
Mm-hmm.
and other user-oriented services. And so I saw an opportunity. I asked Exxon for the install base. They gave it to me. Lesson number one: ask for what you want. If you never ask, you'll never get. But if you
Great
ask, you've
lesson.
got some chance of getting what you asked for. So
Yeah.
I asked them for the install base. I got it. I got company names, personal, decision maker names, phone numbers, email addresses, all of that. And I contacted all of them. And my first customers right out the bat were Exxon Corporation themselves, New York Times, AT&T, Hoffman LaRoche. These were my first customers that we were providing services for. I asked for my equipment to be able to take home. I was given that, and very low barrier to entry. I started a services business right on the day that I was no longer an Exxon employee, because we had 6 months to prepare. The Washington Post leaked the story that Exxon was selling a division. Exxon going out of business. Remember who Exxon was at the time? Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Exxon going out of business. So, headlines sell. And so it became apparent that no, we were just divesting one of our subsidiaries. And so increasingly, for 6 months until that deal closed, we were paid as if we were 100% a quota. We weren't expected to sell anything, because who was going to buy from a company who's leaving the industry? And so I had 6 months to prepare for opening up my first company. I had business cards, letterhead, I had everything on day one, because I had time to prepare for that. So to me, it was a tremendous blessing, a gift, if you will, how
Yeah.
everything came together. And
Well,
I succeeded in my first company that I've ever started.
yeah. No, no. And it's funny how you said how you would see things and it wasn't mystical or anything. It just was. But I mean, it does seem that you're touched by some grace, with the way things fell into place. But I don't but let's not take away from the fact that what you brought to that too, that it wasn't just all luck. And I want to ask you, because I mean, I want to jump into the where you went from there, because that's a whole nother great story I happen to know as well. But when you think about that time, even for Exxon, I mean, there weren't a lot of women that anyone was taking a chance on in the way, and that they took a chance on you and put you out there. And again, women, period, but let alone a non-white woman on top of that. What do you think? Where do you think that came from, that were that space was opened up to you the way it was? I mean, obviously, you talked about your curiosity, you talked about, you're always been someone of interest, but I'm sure that there were barriers to get to that moment, for sure, with the company, let alone when you knocked on the doors after you had the job. That there's so many stages.
Absolutely, Helen. And, somebody did take a chance on me. And I
Mm,
talk about two of my early mentors from Exxon in the book, and they both happened to be African American.
mm,
One was female, she was my first sales manager. And the person who took a chance on me was the New York Midtown branch manager. His name was Felix. And in order to go from a corporate staff, employee relations or HR position to sales, even though people were telling me, you should be in sales, you should be in sales. And then finally I said, okay, I'm ready to go. Let's put me in sales. I had to take a standardized test to
mm,
determine my probability of success in sales. Well, I failed the empathy portion,
mm,
which I did not naturally equate to my probability of success in sales. I mean, I knew what the definition of the word was. I'm an avid reader, but I couldn't apply it. And then, they explained that until you can put yourself in someone else's shoes and feel the pain that they're feeling, you're never going to be able to solve their problem by selling them something. And so Felix, the branch manager, because I was recommended that I not be put in sales.
mm.
But Felix, the branch manager, said, I'll take a chance on her. Those were his exact words. I'll take a chance on her. How many times do we have an opportunity to take a chance on somebody, right? Whether it succeeds or fails, I think it's still incumbent upon us all to take a chance on somebody and help bring them along with us. He took a chance on me. They sent me to sales school, 2 weeks up in Stamford, Connecticut. And I was Rookie of the Year that year, and I overachieved quota every year. So much for standardized tests.
Yeah.
Talking about being non-white,
Hmm.
the normal test group for these kinds of tests were
Right.
not people like me. Nobody knew that I had to like carve out my way and, okay, you didn't get that last piece of pie. I'm sorry, but I was hungry. I was one of 6 kids. We had to maneuver and work our way through these tight spaces, and we remain a close family to this day, right? But nobody knows the experiences that we bring to those tests or to those jobs or to those opportunities. And so that's why, we have to broaden our thinking,
Hmm.
shut down some of these biases
Yeah.
of what we think, right, would constitute success. Because you never know. People will figure out, how to be successful. I will always figure out how to be successful because I have no options there, right?
Yes.
I stand on excellence. And so whether I have to work all night tonight or I have to, not experience having fun with the friends on the weekend, I'm going to figure out how to get a deliverable out on time and how to work my way through challenges and problems to come to a successful conclusion.
Wow. There's so much in what you just said, for us to learn from, and I'm sure our viewers are taking note of it as well. I mean, obviously, we know that standardized tests are laced with systemic, bias, as you shared, and you know, just noting how it wasn't something that you were able to pass, but yet someone was taking a chance on you. It's a good reminder that the tests are not everything, and that your experience with people are, and being able to really have that mentorship. And I know mentorship is important to you, and that is something that stuck with you and carried through your career, and even in your give back work, because, and I'm sure that experience really really focused that for you as being key and important. My goodness, so much in here now. We have to remember to ask. We have to, you're giving us a lot here. So let's talk about that next chapter of your life where you started the business.
Okay.
Again, a woman, a non-white woman, in a space where, you know, most people do not look like you. What was that like, pushing forward this great start you had, but you also grew it, evolved it, changed with the times, kept current no matter where the twists and turns of the economy and the business went. So that here we are talking all these years later, and you're still a top leader in this work.
Ooh, and I've got every gray hair to prove it. Only I
And you
color
wear
them
them
platinum
well.
now. I have to keep changing my hair color as a result. Um, you know, when you're set on a mission and you're fulfilling your purpose, you really don't take note of, well, I've accomplished this and or I'm accomplishing that. I just get up and come to work every day, right? But I also come with a servant's heart
Mm.
and recognize, one of my sheroes and one of my um, sayings that I take to heart is from Shirley Chisholm, that service is the rent that we pay for living on this earth. And she's so right. We're not here to just accumulate stuff. If that were the case, I could have, been much further in my quest to grow $1 billion firm and then sell it and then live happily ever after. But that was not my path. I have several friends whose path that has been, and they're doing fine, and more power to them. But for me, it was about, what am I using my time, talent, and resources on for something bigger than myself?
Yeah.
So that first company served its purpose. It was to fill the gap between Exxon and Harris Corporation for those customers. And then, we went into the federal contracting space in the 8A program, and we did very well, ultimately serving as a national third party computer maintenance firm. I used to say, from Acer to Zenith, we could fix it. We fixed all of that and got contracts with most of the Defense Department agencies like Army, Navy, Coast Guard, all of those. We've got the VA hospitals in New York, New Jersey. There are 3 large VA hospitals. And then with the Department of Labor, we had contracts in all 50 states, right? So it was always a challenge to respond to those needs. I had to set up a national partner network. I certainly wasn't going to put employees in all those states and wait for a call, right, that something needs to be fixed. So establishing, this is just an example of how, when you do get an interesting and complex project to work on, and we love projects,
Mm-hmm.
then you figure out how to best support the terms and conditions and the SLAs, right? The service level agreements, because we couldn't take a week to respond to somebody's computer being down. It was hours. And so we had to put things in place and flow down our terms and conditions from our contracts to our subcontractors' contracts. And that worked very well. And so I've started and closed and or sold or merged in 5 companies in the last 36 years, since January 1st, 1985. And several of them were for specific purposes, like that first one. There was another one I remember in the state of New Jersey. Remember when they changed the contracting, subcontracting requirements, and there were 3 classes of companies, and nobody knew any companies in class 1, which I think had revenues under $500,000.
Mm.
And so I started one. I'm like, we got 0. And so that served a purpose, especially with a lot of the school construction authority back then. And then after we graduated from the 8A program, I realized that my life is in corporate, and I went screaming, never to return to the confines and the bureaucracy of federal contracting. Not to say I wouldn't do it again, but I'm not interested in pursuing prime contracts there. There are lots of big corporations that we partner with who are all prime contractors. And so started another services firm back in 96 after graduating from the 8A program. And then in 2008, this company I launched with the acquisition of a spinoff from Bank of America. So now I've done my first acquisition, and I was in the M&A space, mergers and acquisition space, as well as the capital markets now, raising capital to grow inorganically. And that's something that, we have not been privy to, those kinds of capital markets and opportunities to not just have to bootstrap it all the time, but to leverage the capital markets for inorganic growth. And so I just, in the end of 2018, acquired my second company. It was a value added company reseller of computer hardware, software, and services. And so that now has created a second division. We have our services and consulting on the supply chain and spend analytics side. And we also have a technology solutions provider that delivers hardware, software, and services to our corporate and government customers. With that acquisition, I assumed a bunch of state government agencies in the state of Pennsylvania, as well as some more mid-market firms. So my legacy had always been in the Fortune 100 space, where I'm most comfortable. But now I recognize that there's a lot of firms and government agencies in the middle market space, right? And they're underserved for the types of solutions that we've developed for the corporate or enterprise space. And so now we've developed relationships as customers with utilities, large healthcare networks, hospitals, universities. All of those I consider middle market, and that part of the business is growing nicely. So now I am in the process of looking to acquire another larger VAR, which brings different types of technical services that are pretty much in demand. And my goal is that transaction will close by the end of this calendar year, or if not, it'll leak into January. But we're on the path now of bringing in some equity capital. And for the first time in my life, I will divest part of my ownership of TCGi as part of my overall strategy to grow into a larger company and then to exit. So yeah, even though I enjoy getting up every day, I don't want to work until I die. Right?
Yeah, you're ready. Well, and I think that's also one of the unique pieces of your story, is that you keep reinventing yourself and reinventing the business every step of the way. Despite the fact that you really are a trailblazer in a space, that hasn't stopped you at all and kept you, at all, in a box. You just keep reinventing and keep adding and changing. And here you are still doing it. So I would be remiss before we leave each other to if I didn't ask you a little bit about the work you and give back to the community, the mentorship. And, I know that, you've been so touched and inspired by others that you've made it an important practice for you and your work to give back as well. Can you talk a little bit about that? So for our viewers, I just want to make sure that you have note here in the comments. We have the links so that you can connect with Avis at avisyatesrivers.com. You can also connect to her website for Technology Concepts. You could learn more about her business, whether it's for you or someone in your life. And definitely follow her and stay connected to her. She's on LinkedIn and elsewhere, and you'll always be seeing all these amazing initiatives that she's lifting up and that she's part of, which I know I'm always so happy to see how active and all you're doing.
Thank you, Helen. I appreciate that, and I apologize for the camera. It was driving me crazy. It seemed like I kept sinking down, 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 and I had to adjust it. Um, Thank you for that, because again, I believe that we're all here to be in service.
Hmm.
And as part of my work with NCWIT, the National Center for Women in IT, it is to bring to the attention of the world that women and people of color are grossly underrepresented at the design table in technology. So, as good as technology is today, case in point, if we leave home and we forget our cell phone, we're going back for it, right?
Hmm.
So as insidious as it is today, and how much needed it is, it's not as good as it can be. And it doesn't speak to all of the needs of everybody, because women and people of color like myself, with our varied experiences and approaches to problem solving, are not at the table helping to
Yeah.
design what's coming next. And so I have, since almost its inception, I became a member of the board of the National Center for Women in IT, or NCWIT, I'll call it from now on. And they are doing extraordinary work. It's a very large nonprofit. It's headquartered in Boulder with the University of Colorado, and it is doing extraordinary work understanding the reasons why, right? So, not just creating an episodic program that teaches girls to code. That's not sustainable. It's not going to move a national needle. But understanding why women participation declined. It was up at about 37% in the mid to late 80s. And now it was down about 13, 14%. And with women, Black women and Latina women, the total is 4% combined, being involved in technology. And so, recognizing that we have to change that, I've joined this network of change leaders. I serve as their national spokesperson for their Sit With Me campaign, which utilizes that red chair, which I keep right in my office, which symbolizes the need to that women need a seat at the design
Great.
table, and that we need to sit in support of technical women, understanding why they don't come in at the beginning and why they leave by the
Hmm.
time they reach mid-career. And
Yeah.
so that's why I wrote necessary inclusion, because my attempt was to broaden that conversation just beyond the folks who know that it's a problem. But also, women of color have other extenuating circumstances that prevent them from getting educated, right? And in computing. And so I launched the TCGi Foundation in 2017 and established the Donna J. Colbert um, scholarship for technical studies for a deserving young woman of color who wanted to study computing. Donna was a key member of my team who succumbed to ovarian cancer in 2017, and I wanted a way to um,
Mm.
create a legacy for all the hard work that she had done with us. This year, we lost John Fitzpatrick, our head of sales, to lung cancer. And so we created a second scholarship in his name, for graduate students in computing. And we're also, just recognizing that a lot of doors need to be opened. A
Hmm.
lot of girls around the world that look like me need to understand that they too are smart enough to do something in this field, to invent the next big thing. But, this commonly used phrase, in order to be it, you have to see it. And so that's why I serve as a national spokesperson. I go around the country, I go around the world and speak on this behalf, so that girls everywhere know that they too can do this as well. Mhm.
Well, and that's also why, as Avis will tell all of you, I asked her not only to be on Share the Mic Now today, but I asked her to talk to the girls in our Girls Leadership Academy, which is a amazing program where the the 10th grade girls come together for a year, and over that time meet 60 different mentors of women that are in all different careers, and women that look like them, women that don't look like them, and just to introduce them and create a space in their mind, and doing exactly what Avis is talking about. And we're so grateful that she agreed to participate in that as well. And I was so struck when I did meet you through the pitch competition, that brought us together, some time ago, when you told me the story about Donna and how you created the scholarship in her name. It stuck with me all this time as well, because it really, it showed to me that your team is your family, and that is the culture that you've created, in your business. And I when I think about your success, and I think about your longevity, which, both, again, for women in this space, are absolute, trailblazing, initiatives. It's factors like that, I'm sure, that are at the core of the success, that you have, is just being, wired that way, and leading that way, and with that servant mentality. So thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Helen. I appreciate it. I want to let you know that our foundation's website is launching very soon. It's tcgifoundation.org. And we would love to have as many people as possible contribute to this cause. It's important for our success as a nation and our ability to compete with other nations, because I have to tell you, out in the Far East, they are churning out computer scientists by the tens of thousands every single year. And we're not there yet. And so we can't fill our jobs.
Well, I just know that the YWCA of Northern New Jersey is here to partner with you on pushing out that initiative. We look
Thank
forward to
you.
having you talk to our girls, and we actually have a STEM program specifically related for young women in the early November, which I'm going to make sure we tap on your shoulder to be part of that conversation as well.
Absolutely.
That is the positive of the virtual experience. Everything's not positive about it, but the positive about the virtual experience is that we really can get a lot of great voices to participate, no matter where they're sitting,
That's
and we can all link together, and lift up these important conversations. So, folks, again, please check out Avis Yates Rivers at her website, at technology. AvisYatesRivers.com. Also, check out her business at technologyconcepts.com. I'm sure when the other website for her foundation is set up, you'll be able to jump to them from these sites. And if you're following her on LinkedIn, I know that she will be shouting those initiatives out and the work that she's doing there. And I do hope that you engage with them and help push this out, because as she so aptly shared, we really need to do better in this space. And we really can only shift the culture and do better is if all of us, no matter what we look like, are, actively take part in making that happen. So please, please, do that. And please share this conversation today. You're part of the inspiration of YWTV. I know that there was probably at least 5 things, because I know I have all kinds of things roaming in my head after this conversation, but at least 5 things that would be great for you to integrate into a conversation with someone in your life today. Some piece of inspiration that Avis shared. So please share her story. You also can share this broadcast off of our Facebook page. You can copy the link and text it to someone. You can send it in Messenger. But definitely share Avis's story. It is part of creating a bridge to humanity and equality, which is what we really are working toward here at the YWCA. And she's just a great lady. So it's a great opportunity to lift that up too.
Thank you, Helen. You did fantastic. And thank you for asking me to be with you today. I've enjoyed it.
Oh, I thank you for saying yes, and thank you for continuing to say yes to everything that I asked you to do in the same email. And I hate to say I'm probably going to ask you to do other things too, but I'm also here, and we're here to support your initiatives. For our viewers, we hope you can join us tomorrow. We have another great conversation for you. You can spend your lunchtime with us tomorrow. We'll be cooking with Chef Rama. And, I know everyone is so pumpkin spice happy this time of year. She's going to give us some hearty foods that we can be cooking using pumpkin everything. So be ready and join us. Bring your lunch, brown bag it, and put on your Facebook and join us at 12:30 tomorrow. And we have a lot of great shows also scheduled for you next week. And while we're at it, for any non-white women who are looking to start and launch their business, or to try to help support and develop a business that's currently in motion, we encourage you to join free of charge our Women's Empowerment 360 Business Essentials program. It's a partnership that our YWCA Northern New Jersey has with the Eureka platform. And together, it's an online community that helps non-white women entrepreneurs support the development of their business. There's so much connected to being part of this cohort. For those of you who watched it know, last year, one of the members of our cohort actually won the national pitch competition. So woohoo! And we had a second person in the finalists of the top 5. So I happen to think we're very special in Northern New Jersey and all who come to be part of our family. So we hope that you consider taking part and using this opportunity. Again, there's no charge for it. And also, please join us, our virtual gala for the YWCA of Northern New Jersey, which ultimately helps fund all the important programs that we do, from our sexual violence work to our women's entrepreneurship support, to our racial justice work, to our work with girls, our child care initiatives, our health and wellness for seniors. Everything we do is funded from this one event on November 10th at 7 p.m. It is a virtual event, so wherever you're sitting comfortably, you can just join in, buy a ticket. Lots of great silent auction items for you to be able to take home some amazing trips if you want to go to France, if you want to go down the shore. Lots of great places to go to when you're feeling more comfortable to travel. But we hope that you join us, because we're also honoring some amazing social justice leaders and change agents from our region. I know that you're going to know who they are when you see them. We've been revealing them on our social media, so I hope you're watching. We just did our first reveal this week, which was a great, strong woman in our community, and there's many more to follow. So watch. I'm not going to give it away. And so with that, everyone have a great day. Avis, thank you again so much for spending time with me today. Just sending you, big love over technology.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Helen, and congratulations on all these fantastic programs. I am such a fan, and you can count on me to support you continuously.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone, have a great day. Be well.